start. Okay, awesome. Just give it a second here for everyone to come in. Um, Great. Thank you all for coming to today's info session. We're going to be talking about study abroad programs in Spain that focus on Spanish language learning and immersion. So in today's in today's presentation, we're talking about the WIP Madrid program, CIEE Seville, and Illinois and Granada. I do not speak Spanish, so I'm not going to say their full program titles. But yeah, during this info session, we're going to start off with like some basics of study abroad in terms of like academics and how to look at cost of programs. And then we'll go into an overview of these three programs and their details so you can kind of get a better sense of what they're all about. We'll be sharing a lot of resources during this time, so I will be dropping links in the chat. I recommend opening those up and maybe bookmarking them if you want to reference them at any other time. The session is being recorded and it will be posted to YouTube later. So if you want to go back at any time and watch this and get the information again, it should be up in the next couple of weeks. Sorry, a lot of disclaimers. We will have our cameras on for introductions, but we're going to turn them off for the rest of the session just to save a bit of bandwidth. And yeah, any questions that you have can be left in the Q&A chat in the webinar here. And if we have time, we will get to those at the very end of the presentation. So we will get to them just after we've gone through the formalities and all the information here. So we'll start off with introductions. Kristen, do you want to start us off?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Culkins, and I'm a study abroad advisor with international academic programs. My program portfolio includes programs in Spain and Latin America. And as a study abroad advisor, I help students with program advising, health and safety abroad, funding information, and more. So I look forward to working with you all.
And I'm Allie. I am one of our exploration advisors here at International Academic Programs. So I am more of a general advisor for students who are interested in just getting started with the study abroad process. So in my advising appointments, we talk really a lot about what programs are out there, how to kind of narrow down options, and really kind of introductory resources to help you get started with looking into all the different options. I do have advising appointments throughout the week. They're usually 20 minutes long. So if you ever want to chat with me, you can book an appointment with me via Starfish.
And my name is Emma Hetzel. I am a study abroad enrollment manager with International Academic Programs. So as an enrollment manager, I can help with questions related to application advising, the course equivalent request process, which we'll talk a little bit about in this presentation, eligibility for programs, and then transcript and grade processing. I work with a variety of programs across the world, but most importantly is that I work with the three programs that we'll be talking about today. So if you have any questions about any of these programs related to application, eligibility, course equivalence, or grade/transcript processing, I'll be your go-to person.
Thank you, Emma and Kristen. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're going to start off with some more baseline information to just kind of give you a couple of things that'll be helpful when you are comparing programs. So the first thing that a lot of students look at when it comes to weighing their options is the academics on the programs. So just overall, when it comes to studying abroad, you do get credit for every single course you take abroad, and you can make degree progress while you are on your study abroad program. So for every course you take abroad, you get what we call in residence UW-Madison credit, which basically means like your course will show up on your transcript and it will hardly look like you studied abroad at all. It'll just come up as a regular UW course. And you really kind of have to read the fine print to know that like you were abroad during that time. All the grades that you earn abroad do contribute towards your GPA, and it is also possible to earn honors credit. For example, if you're in the College of Letters and Sciences Honors College or you have honors in the major, it is possible to potentially get honors credit on your program. Every course that you take abroad will have a UW-Madison equivalent course, and Emma's going to talk about the specifics of that in the next slide. But basically, every course you take abroad, again, will appear on your transcript. The specific type of credit you get and the course number you're earning will obviously depend on like the content of the course abroad, the level, the rigor, and all of those kinds of things. But it will come back on your transcript as something. You can be assured of that. If you do have questions about like what courses should I take abroad in order to stay on track for graduation, like what do students normally save for abroad versus taking on the UW campus, those questions are really great for your academic advisor for like your major or certificate. That advisor is the person who can walk through your DARS report with you and go over your remaining requirements and kind of see how you can plan out those future semesters and summers to accommodate that time abroad. If you do know what you're studying and you know that you want to study abroad, a really helpful resource is what we call our major advising pages or MAPs. These are basically guidebooks written by some of the majors and certificates about study abroad, and they're like general advice for students who are planning to go abroad. So you will find information about like what courses to maybe take abroad, the best time to go, and then also a list of recommended programs that may offer more coursework that's like related to your major. That list of recommended programs is not the be all end all. You can usually go wherever you want. But if you're kind of feeling overwhelmed by choices, I usually like to start students there because it's a good, short, like digestible list. You can scan the QR code to get to the maps. I will also put a link in the chat here so you can bookmark that if you want to. We don't have major advising pages for every single major and certificate. They are a continuous work in progress. If you don't see one for your major or certificate, that doesn't mean you can't study abroad. It just means that we haven't made it yet. So it's probably best that you do meet with your academic advisor and also maybe one of our advisors so you make sure that you are getting all of the relevant information. But I will pass it off to Emma now to talk more about those course equivalents.
Thanks, Allie. Before I get into it, I just want to preface this by saying while these screenshots are from the IES Barcelona course equivalent page, please note that all of our programs have this course equivalent page attached to it. So know that this knowledge is transferable to the specific program that you're interested in applying for. So on each of our program pages, we have an academics tab where if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a section labeled course equivalents with a hyperlink to view course equivalents. And that will take you to the site course listing for Barcelona, Spain, IES Barcelona, for example, shown here in the screenshot. On this page, you'll see a few different sections that I want to go over with you all. So on the left-hand side, you'll have the program course listed. This is going to be the name and the location of the program course that you would take on the program itself. So at the top of that list, there's this example of this IES abroad course called Introduction to Probability and Statistics. The next column over is going to be the pre-approved UW-Madison equivalent. So Stats 311 is the established pre-approved equivalent for that class. That is the course here, Stats 311, that is actually going to show up on your transcript at the end of the day. Next, you'll see a bunch of letters. I promise they all stand for something. On the very right-hand side, you'll see a link to open abbreviation key that tells you what each of those letters stand for. But those are going to be the course attributes that are attached to the UW-Madison equivalent. So that could be if the UW course has social sciences breadth or is an advanced level course, or if it counts for LNS degree credit type, if it's repeatable for credit or not, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll want to make sure that you're paying attention to that information if you are specifically looking for courses that meet those specific requirements. I'll also note that this is not an exhaustive list of all the courses that are offered on the program. This list is a historical record of courses that students have taken in the past that have been reviewed by the respective departments here on campus and indicated that they are pre-approved for, and any other student that takes that course. This does also come into play a little bit in terms of the specific courses that are going to be offered each duration. Not all of these courses are offered every single duration. So you'll want to be working in collaboration with the course listing offerings that we have also on our pages, where you can compare and contrast the courses offered on the program with our pre-approved course equivalent page. I'll also note that we can't always guarantee enrollment in specific classes, so we also encourage students for a semester-long class, we typically encourage students to identify 8 to 10 courses that they might be interested in taking, just due to course availability course enrollment, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. Just another piece of information that is going to be helpful as you're comparing programs is knowing about the cost of the program. So cost of study abroad can vary a lot and can be more the same or less than studying here on campus, depending on a lot of factors like where you're going, how long you're going, what's all included in your program fees, and also like how much you're spending on out-of-pocket expenses during that time. So luckily, the cost of your program is public information and it is there for you to find and research on your own. So actually back on, if you look at the program page, there's a screenshot on the top left here. Emma pointed out the academics tab. There is also a cost and funding tab in the very middle where you can find cost sheets for the program linked. They should be split up by durations of when that program is offered. And those cost sheets give you a breakdown of how much you can expect to pay in tuition, plus also out-of-pocket expenses like your plane ticket and meals and the cost of applying to the visa and all of those things to give you a total estimate for that time that you will be abroad. So you're going to see costs all over the place, all across the spectrum. So it's definitely an important part to note and compare if that is a priority for you. There are a lot of different ways that you can fund study abroad. So the biggest one is through scholarships. Our office, International Academic Programs, IAP, we have a lot of different scholarships with a lot of different like eligibility requirements and award amounts and all of that we definitely encourage you to apply to all the ones that you are eligible for. So we just have 3 examples here. The Study Abroad Scholars is one that's really kind of open to anyone. I don't even think there's a necessary requirement anymore. It's very easy to apply to, and the award amounts vary depending on how long your program is taking place. The Badgers Go Green Abroad Scholarship is for semester or year-long programs, and that is for students with a demonstrated commitment to sustainability. And then the UW Global Gateway Fellowship is also for semester or year-long programs, and that is specifically a $10,000 award for students who meet certain eligibility requirements regarding financial aid and financial need and those types of things. So again, those are just 3 examples. There are a ton more. Our office last year gave out around like $2.5 million in scholarships, so there's a lot to explore there. The screenshot on the bottom right here is a general timeline of when our scholarships become available depending on when you study abroad. So for example, if you're studying abroad spring 2027, those scholarships will become available starting early September and be due in late September. There's also like national scholarships and other UW offices have scholarships too. So they're all going to have their own different processes and timelines and eligibility. Definitely recommend researching into those. We do have a huge like funding study abroad resource on our website that I'll put in the chat. And we do also have there a very large scholarship chart of like every opportunity that we currently know of. So it's a great resource to kind of look into. Lastly, if you receive any financial aid from like FAFSA or if you're getting any of those any of those tuition scholarships here at UW, that can oftentimes be used towards study abroad as well. So we highly recommend that you chat with a financial aid advisor here to kind of see if you can use any of that towards your study abroad program. Awesome. Okay, so we will start getting into the program overviews now. We're going to start with WIP Madrid. Again, I can't pronounce the entire name. But if you want to scan the QR code to get to the program page, I also have a link in the chat and feel free to bookmark that for later.
All right. So like Allie mentioned, we'll get started reviewing our program options by talking about the WIP Madrid program, which is a program that will help you gain competence with the Spanish language, as well as increase your knowledge of Spanish history, culture, literature, and the arts. So the WIP acronym stands for Wisconsin, Indiana, and Purdue. This is known as a consortium program where these universities send students to take classes at the Complutense University of Madrid, which is the largest public research university in Spain and one of the oldest operating universities in the world. There are excellent program staff in Madrid to support you throughout your program experience, and many students share that a highlight of the program is the close friendships that they build with fellow WIP program participants. So getting into some of the kind of overview topics, students can participate in the WIP program during fall, spring semester, or the full academic year. And you'll notice that the program durations are similar to timelines of UW-Madison semesters. As for eligibility requirements, students need to have at least a 2.5 GPA, must be junior or senior standing, and must be in good academic and disciplinary standing. Students need to have completed at least through fifth semester Spanish, which is equivalent to one semester after that initial Spanish language sequence of Spanish 101, 102, 203, and 204, and must have a B average in their Spanish language courses. Finally, all of the courses that are offered on this particular WIP Madrid program are instructed in Spanish.
Okay, talking a little bit more specifically about academics on the WIP Madrid program. This program does have a credit minimum requirement of 15 credits. So that's typically 5 classes. Most of the classes on this program are 3 credits each, and you can take up to 6 classes or 18 credits on this program. If you study on this program in the fall, you will enroll in all Reunidas courses. So those are going to be the courses that you're taking only with the fellow consortium students that are part of that Reunidas consortium that Kristen was talking about. If you participate on this program in the spring, you'll take at least one Complutense direct enroll course. So that would be directly enrolling in the Complutense University. So you might have fellow study abroad students on your program in that class, alongside students that have directly enrolled at the Complutense University. The rest of your classes in the spring semester will be a mix of Reunidas and Complutense, but you do need to take at least one Complutense course. Students that participate in the full academic year-long program can take a Complutense course in the fall if they wish to. You're not required to, but you can take a Complutense course in the fall, and then you take that required Complutense course in the spring. The courses on this program are offered in the area of humanities, so Spanish language, literature, history, philosophy, art. If you're looking for courses outside of those disciplines, this may not be the best program for you, but certainly reach out to us and we can take a list at that course equivalent list and the course offerings for this program.
So on to housing. Students on the WIP Madrid program are provided with housing suggestions and recommendations from program staff in Madrid, but ultimately can choose where they live. Students can choose between living in a homestay with a local host or in an apartment, perhaps with other students attending Complutense, other fellow program participants. Regardless of the housing type that you choose, you can expect up to a 45-minute commute from your housing to the university where you'll take your classes. Both options have their perks, and we've highlighted some of the advantages of both housing types for your consideration. Finally, I wanted to mention that the WIP program provides a housing orientation after students have been accepted to the program to discuss the different housing options, hear from housing providers in Madrid, as well as learn the process of reserving your preferred housing, whether that be with the homestay or in an apartment. You'll have support from the WIP program staff in Madrid throughout the entire housing process.
Awesome. So moving on from Madrid, we now have our program in Seville. And again, the link to that program page is in the chat for you all.
Okay, so the CIEE Advanced Liberal Arts and Liberal Arts Language Immersion in Seville program, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the reason that we have that very long name is to designate that there are 2 different track options on this program, the Advanced Liberal Arts track option and the Liberal Arts Language Immersion track option. Both of these options are available for the fall, spring, or academic year durations. One way they differentiate is the Advanced Liberal Arts track requires 6 semester Spanish language. So that's going to be 2 classes beyond Spanish 204. And then the Liberal Arts Language Immersion track is a requirement of completion of 4 semesters. So completion through Spanish 204 for that track. The Both of the track options do have a 3.0 Spanish language GPA requirement, so we're looking for a B or average in all Spanish language courses that you've taken. The classroom language, all courses on this program, regardless of track selection, are taught in Spanish. And both tracks, upon arrival, you participate in a 2-week intensive course where you are just taking that 1 2-week intensive course with your classmates at the CIEE Center. Once you complete that course, you can take a mix of courses offered at the CIEE Center, the Universidad Seville, or UPO, that's another partner institution location where you can take courses. If you are interested in the advanced liberal arts track, you are required to take at least 2 courses offered at the University of Seville or at UPO. If you are enrolling in the liberal arts language immersion track, you have the option to take up to 2 courses at one of those direct enroll institutions. So the mix and match of your courses depend on the specific track that you're interested in. Housing on this program, Kristen will talk a little bit more about it, but just a quick overview. You can choose between residence hall or homestay options, but homestay options are strongly encouraged, especially for that language immersion aspect of the program. Okay, a little bit more, looking a little bit more at the academics of this program. So both tracks, you'll take 15 to 18 credits. That does include that intensive language course that I was mentioning just now. So you would be taking that 3-credit intensive language course at the beginning for 2 weeks, and then you would transition into taking 4 to 5 semester classes for the rest of the duration. I will note that that intensive language course is not approved for a Spanish department equivalent. So you'll just want to make sure that you're reviewing what those pre-approved equivalents are for that intensive language course. So you're keeping in mind that that particular course won't count towards your Spanish major requirements if you're a Spanish major. So like I mentioned earlier on the advanced liberal arts track, you'll enroll in 1 intensive language course, at least 2 direct enroll courses, either at University of Seville or at UPO, and then the remaining courses can be a mix of CIEE and direct enroll courses. If you're on the liberal arts language immersion track, you'll enroll in that initial intensive language course, and then the remaining 4 to 5 courses will be a mix of CIEE courses and up to 2 direct enroll courses. But please know that that is optional and you can take all CIEE courses on that liberal arts language immersion track. The CIEE courses that you take will be with other study abroad students, not just UW-Madison study abroad students, but other students from US institutions that are studying abroad on this program. The direct enroll courses will be with other CIEE students and university students.
So on the CIEE Seville program, students are required to live in CIEE provided housing for the duration of your program. As Emma mentioned earlier, CIEE offers 2 types of housing, so you can choose between a residence hall and a homestay. Students will complete a housing preference form to let CIEE, the study abroad provider, know what their top choice is. And CIEE does their best to place students in their preferred housing type. A couple things to keep in mind. So students that live or choose to live in a in a homestay will have 3 meals provided per day by their host. With the residence hall, meals are not included, but students do have access to shared kitchens, so can prepare their own meals. Finally, students should anticipate up to a 45-minute commute for their housing to the CIEE Seville Center, regardless of if choosing the homestay or the residence hall.
Great. And moving on to our last program that we'll cover, kind of a newer program is our program in Granada. And that link is there for you all in the chat.
All right. So the Illinois and Granada, Spain program is administered by the University of Illinois and allows you to take classes through the Center for Modern Languages at the University of Granada, which is a leading institution for language and cultural studies. As for program durations, the Illinois and Granada, Spain program is offered during the fall, spring, and academic year. The program requires that students have completed at least through fourth semester Spanish with a B average to participate in those Spanish language courses. However, we do recommend that students have completed a minimum of 5 semesters of Spanish if students are intending to use credit to satisfy advanced coursework in the Spanish major or certificate on the program. And we'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. So as for classroom language, all of your courses, if you are in the advanced level or intermediate level, will be taught in Spanish. And if you test into a beginner level, you'll have a combination of classes in Spanish and in English as well. So I think we're going to cover a little bit more on academics and those different levels in just a minute here.
Thanks, Kristen. So on the Illinois and Granada, Spain program, the credit requirements are going to be 16 to 19 credits. That does include a 4 credit intensive language course that you take at the beginning of the term. Kind of similar to the CIEE in Seville program, although that intensive language course is a little bit longer. It's usually 3 to 4 weeks. It's 60 contact hours that you take before the semester begins. And then after you complete that intensive language course, you take a final exam, and pending the results of that final exam, that will separate you into 2 different tracks. So there's the Spanish language and culture semester track that is for students that test into beginner/intermediate level Spanish. And then there's the Hispanic studies semester track, and that's for students that test into the advanced level Spanish courses. So you'll want to keep in mind, depending on what level you test into, that might differentiate between the different types of courses that are available to you. So when you're taking a look at that pre-approved course equivalent page, just keep that in mind that it may depend on the course level that you test into, whether or not those courses are going to be available to you. There are certainly some course overlaps between the Spanish language and culture track and the Hispanic studies track, but there are also some specific classes that are available only to one track or the other. The courses are all offered at the University of Granada through the CLM, so you would be taking classes with other students that are enrolled at this institution.
All right, so students on this program will live in a homestay. So there aren't multiple options for this particular program. The homestay does provide an excellent opportunity to practice your Spanish language skills and connect with locals. Your homestay placement will be arranged by the program, and host families will provide a private bedroom, linens, 3 meals a day, as well as laundry services a couple of times a week. Program participants will fill out a housing preference form and will be paired with a carefully screened host based on their needs and preferences.
Great. Okay, thank you, Kristen and Emma, for the program overview. We're just now going to talk about a couple more resources that we think might be helpful as you're comparing programs and picking which one will be the best fit for you. So a really big thing that I think is super helpful in learning more about the programs and kind of getting a sense of their nuance and overall, experiences that students have had is by actually connecting with past study abroad students. So there's a lot of resources that you can use in order to do this. On every single program page, there is a student voices tab where you can find things like a photo album, videos, blogs, vlogs, and like student quotes about the program. There is also what we call a return student network, which is essentially a database of students who have been on particular programs and agreed to be contacted by prospective students. So it should list their name, the program they went on, what duration they went during, their major, and also their email. So you can definitely reach out to a couple people there if they've been on any of these programs and you want to learn more about like what they did on the day-to-day and how they like their classes and all those kinds of things. Um, we are also on social media if you're interested in following us there at all. We're mainly on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is probably the most active. But particularly on Instagram, we do have a weekly Instagram story takeover by current study abroad students where they're posting photos and videos and sometimes also doing live Q&A sessions. Obviously, the location and program will change every single week, but you might encounter someone who's in Spain right now, or Latin America or anything like that. So that's a great way to kind of stay in the know and, learn more about their experiences directly from them. In the chat, I'm gonna share a couple resources like the Return Student Network and our blogging site. And not on this slide, but also super important to know about is our Study Abroad Fair. This is being hosted at the end of September this year on the UW campus. It's a great way to talk to students who have been abroad and also some of those partners that we work with, like CIEE, to kind of learn more about the programs, ask questions, and all of that. Our professional staff are there to answer questions to provide advising. So if you have any time, I recommend checking out the site for that and seeing all the details and stopping by if you get the chance. And just some other opportunities that you can think about. So we are talking about the programs in Spain here. There are also a lot of really great opportunities in Latin America that offer a lot of that same like language immersion aspect if, again, going abroad for Spanish is your goal. So these are just a couple of them. We have ones in Buenos Aires and Santiago, but there are definitely a lot more that you can check out on our website. Another thing to note is that there are also opportunities for professional development, specifically internships. If you want to focus more on that professional development experience, either like during the summer or during the semester, looking at intern abroad opportunities could also be another route to explore. These are just some of the ones we have in Spain. But again, there are like some in Latin America, Central America, all those kinds of things as well. If you're interested in the internship aspect at all, we do have, sorry, we have our intern abroad advisor, Kimberly Harn, and she specifically works with the internships for Spain and Latin America. So she is a great person to go to with questions. If you find any opportunities on our website that you're interested in, she can definitely be there to chat with you about those and also give recommendations if you're looking for anything specific. But I will also put that intern abroad page in the chat, definitely worth looking into. Awesome. Okay, so this is already the last slide here, but some next steps that you can take right after this session finishes, honestly. So first would be to think about your goals for study abroad. Obviously, Spanish language learning is probably going to be among the top ones, but other things to consider, like generally, like who do you want to interact with on this program? Are you interested in like that professional development? What courses are you hoping to take? All of those kinds of things will hopefully lead you to deciding which program is the best fit for you. Meet with your advisors. I talked about the academic advisor is great for questions about course planning and staying on track for graduation. Our study abroad advisors, like Kristen, are great for questions about like the program and seeing if it's a good fit for you and things like that. Again, I also do exploration advising if you just want help like kind of narrowing down your options. Consider your budget. We talked about how the costs can vary a lot between programs. So look at those cost sheets and kind of see what their estimates are and how that might compare to staying here at UW for a semester or a summer. Apply to financial aid and scholarships as ways to fund your study abroad experience and kind of curb some of those costs. And then connect with the return students using all those different resources. Now that summer and you possibly have a little bit of free time, and now might be a great time to be reaching out and kind of seeing if they can answer any of those questions, maybe meet up on Zoom or something. Update your passport. Usually your passport needs to be valid 6 months to a year after your program finishes. So check that expiration date. And if you need to apply for a new passport or apply for a passport at all, do that sooner rather than later, because those processing times can sometimes take a while. Our office does offer a free passport photo service for all UW students. It is currently not running this summer because we have some technical difficulties and need to order some new parts for our equipment, but it should be back online during the fall semester when we're on campus. So I do have a link in the chat here to our passport photo service page, so you can sign up for that when it becomes available again and take advantage of that service. And lastly is to just apply to your program. So currently the applications for spring of 2027 are open. The fall 2027 and academic year 2027-2028 should open around August 1st. Their deadlines are going to vary a lot, so those are also already posted on the website. Make sure to check those and make sure you keep them on your radar. But that does conclude the formal presentation. These are just some other resources that we talked about. So if you want to join our email list, feel free to scan the QR code. That is how you can get updates about info sessions, scholarships, applications, the study abroad fair, all of those good things. We have our website, studyabroad.wis.edu. That is where you will be spending a lot of time. Our social media is linked there. And then we do have other study abroad offices. So International Academic Programs IAP is the central office, and we are the ones hosting all of the programs we talked about here. But there are also study abroad offices for CALS majors and business school majors if you're more looking to like study abroad and focus on those topics. So definitely reach out to them if you have any questions related to that. But yeah, any questions that we can answer while we're here, while we have a bit of time, feel free to leave them in the Q&A chat and we can get to those now. Any questions? Okay, here we go. So, first question is, how long does it usually take to get a student visa for Spain? Kristen, you can take this one.
Yeah, that is a great question. For two of the three programs that we've talked about today, for spring semester, IAP, International Academic Programs, our study abroad office hosts what's called like a group student visa appointment. So we will be working with students early during fall semester to inform students of any materials that need to be submitted, and ultimately then students will meet with us, submit their materials, and we will apply for students' visa on their behalf. At that time, students will be submitting their physical passport book along with other materials. We bring those to the consulate in Chicago, and the consulate in BLS, which is an agency that works with the consulate for processing, usually has passports for, I would say, around 2 months or so. And that's kind of an approximation. Spring is a pretty busy time for students to be studying in Spain, so fall processing might be a little bit different. For students who might be considering the CIEE program in Seville, CIEE as a study abroad provider will host a very similar kind of group visa process with following similar timelines that I mentioned from the time of maybe submitting materials to either our office or CIEE, maybe late September. We could anticipate within approximately 8 weeks or more receiving those passports back with student visas. But regardless of what a student chooses, they'll have support either through the study abroad office at UW-Madison or through the study abroad provider hosting their program.
Thanks, Kristen. And then Emma, I think this next question is probably best answered by you, but how competitive would you say each program is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the three programs that we just covered in this session are usually not considered competitive, meaning if you are meeting or exceeding the eligibility requirements we have listed on our website, you're generally in a good spot for admission. That's not going to be the case for all of our programs, so you'll just want to make sure that you are reviewing the program pages. If there is a note on the top of the program page, so if a program is competitive, there will be a note on the top of the program page indicating that it's what we call a limited capacity program, meaning there are only a set number of spots that we can accept for that particular program. So you'll just want to make sure that you're visiting each respective program to review if that is the case.
Thanks, Emma. Any other questions that we can answer while we're here? We still have a bit of time. If you are applying to a spring 2027 program, when do you usually find out if you got in?
I'll take this one too, Allie. The response times are going to be a little bit dependent on the deadline for the program. So if a program is a rolling review application, that means we review the applications as they come in. You'll find out a little bit sooner if you've been accepted into the program, just because those applications are reviewed as they are submitted, versus if the program applications are reviewed after the program application deadline, it can take up to 4 to 6 weeks to hear back about your program. But if it's a program that you're considering that is limited capacity and you're wondering about whether or not you'll have time to apply to another program if you're not offered admission, we always encourage you to reach out to the study abroad enrollment manager for the programs that you're interested in to talk to them about the timeline of application review for a specific program.
And if a program is rolling review or not, there should always be a note on the program page about that. So just make sure that you're reading all the information carefully. And the deadlines should also all be posted on our website by now for spring of 2027. And like Emma said, they're going to be different for each program. So just make sure you're paying attention to all of them and again, keeping them on your radar. Great questions. Anything else? I'm not seeing anything come in. A couple resources I forgot to link here. If you do have any questions, we all have advising appointments and hours. Currently, we're all virtual, so you can meet us either on Zoom or over the phone or something like that. But I do have our link for scheduling an advising appointment here in the chat. You can also check out our study abroad events calendar. Sometimes we have other info sessions or things like that, like resource fairs that you can feel free to attend to get more information really at any time. So keep an eye on that. The events are always changing. But yeah, if there are no other questions, we will just end it here. Again, this recording will be on YouTube later on. So if you want to watch back on anything, feel free to go ahead and do that. It should be up in a couple weeks. And yeah, feel free to contact us with any questions. But thank you all for attending and enjoy the rest of your summer then.